Welcome to Manifest Daily, the podcast where we embrace the messy, beautiful journey of self-discovery and constant evolution. I'm Dheandra Nicolette, podcaster, dreamer, and your partner in navigating life's transitions. Together, we'll explore personal growth, creative reinvention, astrology, and navigating life's unknowns. This is your space to evolve boldly, embrace change, and manifest a life that feels true to you. Let's dive in, my loves. It's time to create the next chapter together. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Dheandra Nicolette, and happy Monday, my loves. I hope your week is starting off on the most beautiful note. This week is my birthday week. What would you guys say, my birth week or my birthday week? Or I guess both make sense. My birthday's on Wednesday, so I'm so excited. I actually took Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off work because I'm going on a little staycation. Actually, I guess it would be like a mini vacation. I'm actually leaving Boston and going to the Cape for a couple of days to celebrate my birthday. I almost want to say staycation since the Cape is so close to Boston. So it's not like I'm going to a different state or going to a whole like super different place. Although I do feel like the Cape is a little bit of an interesting and different environment on its own when compared to Boston. But my loves, as you may have guessed by the title, because there's not much guessing that needs to be done, you probably know that in today's episode, we are chatting about releasing the need to romanticize everything in our lives and how it is okay for life to feel boring sometimes. So I want you guys to grab a little snack, a little water, maybe an iced latte, something that makes you feel really fun and happy and warms you up and fills your proverbial cup. And let's go ahead and get into today's episode. I would be remiss if I did not start off this episode talking about social media. I think social media plays a really big role in the message that I want to share with you guys today, because this particular episode was in many ways inspired by my journey and sort of what I've seen on social media. I think when we go on social, we see a ton of different curated versions of everyday life. And that's the fun of social media, right? You know, we've seen how people have literally created careers out of doing things like vlogging and days in my life and just showcasing all of the beautiful things that they do behind the scenes to either keep up with their skincare, their hair care, their workout routines, their recipes, whatever it is. I love a good vlog. I actually feel like that is the majority of what I consume on YouTube is like, you know, I would say it's like 60% vlogs. So I love watching this kind of content. I love the beautiful, you know, mornings with matcha lattes and the Pilates and the iced coffees and the sunrise meditations and the Hatch alarm clocks. Okay, I do love it. I love seeing people spend their afternoons reading in beautiful sunlit rooms with the lo-fi music playing in the background and the journaling that happens by candlelight, because of course it's super romantic if we have some candlelit moments in there, and the skincare routines and the luxury spa experiences. And, you know, again, I don't want this to be a message of we shouldn't do that or we shouldn't look at those things as beautiful and look at those things as inspiration for our lives. But what I do want to say is that even though these moments are beautiful, I think there's something to be said about pressure to feel like we have to show up in our lives in that way or in a similar way in order for our lives to be beautiful. I think there's a false narrative that's created if you're someone like me who consumes this sort of content, that if your day isn't aesthetically pleasing, it may not be meaningful, or it may not be magical, or it may not even be worth remembering. I remember I was chatting with a friend recently and I was saying how, you know, I love the idea of vlogging. I really do. But like, part of me is also just like, I sit at my desk and I'm on my computer working for like 8-9 hours of my day. There's nothing that's super interesting about that. But at the same time, I'm not going to deny that that's not fun for me. I love the work that I do. I find it interesting. There's a reason that I'm sat here for that long in front of computer screens doing what I do. But I also recognize that it probably wouldn't make for the most fascinating content, because you would literally just see me getting up to have lunch or to have water or to take a quick walk during my day. to say that the truth is that most of life happens in the in-between, in the gray spaces, in the routine and the repetitive moments of our lives. I feel like we look at these major moments that we see showcased on social media, the engagements, the babies, the new jobs, the new houses, the new cars, the flashy, the things that almost create these very milestone moments in our lives. And yes, those things are beautiful. And yes, those things should be celebrated. And yes, if you want to post that on social media, who am I to stop you or who am I to judge you? It is your platform. It's your page. But I also want to say that there are mornings and moments where you roll out of bed and you sleep in and you don't go to the gym that day, or you scroll for too long and you're rotting in bed on TikTok, or, your dinner is a frozen Trader Joe's hot chili mac and cheese. Yes, I'm speaking from experience, my love, because the hot chili mac and cheese at Trader Joe's, one thing about it, it's going to be in my microwave, period. Okay. There are days where most of it's spent not talking to anyone, lazing in bed, reading your book, maybe taking a walk, doing your laundry, sitting in traffic. And at the end of the day, that's still your life. Those moments are still sacred. We've been taught to fear boredom. I've heard so many times where people will say, I'm bored. I don't want to be bored. It's too quiet. It's too boring. It's too whatever. It's almost like we associate stillness with failure or stillness with stagnation. I have an episode where I talk about how stillness is not stagnation. Listen to that if you haven't already. But there's almost this feeling that if we're not doing something that's not a milestone moment or doesn't feel like it's something we can showcase it and make it aesthetically pleasing, that it's not worthy of enjoying, it's not worthy of savoring. Boredom isn't bad. We need to reframe that, okay? Boredom is room. Boredom is space. And in that space, that's where your mind gets to breathe. That's where your mind gets to create. That's where you're allowed to wander. And I feel like some of my most profound creative ideas or breakthroughs, if you will, have come in the boring, quote unquote, moments. They don't come when I'm so busy, out and about snapping pictures for Instagram stories or having these, conversations or in the milestone moments. They come when I'm in the shower, when I'm literally like washing my body and I have nothing to do but to be present in that moment to cleanse myself. They come when I'm on a walk and my phone is put away and I don't have a podcast on, and I don't have music on, and all I'm there to do is be present. They come when I'm sat in traffic, right? And it's sort of like, okay, I have to be here. I have to be in this moment. That's when something floats to the surface. That's when we're allowed to let our minds wander and wander to places that perhaps we would never have arrived at, in moments that we would never have even touched on had we not created that space. When we're constantly trying to fill the quiet in our life with content or with stimulation or with this pressure to romanticize, to live our best lives every single second of the day, we're drowning out the sparks of what actually makes for an amazing life. I need you to understand that your life doesn't need to be a movie. Sometimes you might not feel like the main character, and that's okay. You don't need every single meal or every single moment or every single relationship or every single conversation to be romanticized, to be grand. You can make it if you wanted to, but if there's a day where you don't want to pick up flowers or you don't want to get the pretty iced latte, or all you can do is just get up that day and get yourself out of bed. And maybe it's not a bath, but it's a quick shower. And maybe it's not, the super long skincare routine, but it's just a face wash and some sunscreen. That's okay. Those are, I think, some of the most beautiful moments of our lives, because they're the ones where we get to be raw and real and unedited and unfiltered, and we get to be present. We get to be ordinary. And I feel like there's something really beautiful about being ordinary. We're all chasing these extraordinary moments. In some way, we've sort of lost the plot for ourselves. In chasing the extraordinary, we forget that the ordinary is also just as worthy of being seen and cherished. The work that you're doing, for example, the healing work, I talked about this in, I think, yesterday's episode. I say yesterday because now it's Monday. So that would have been, you'd have heard the episode on Wednesday, May 7th. But the work that you're doing with healing, the spiritual, emotional, physical even work, it's not always going to be glamorous. It's not always going to be pretty. It doesn't always look good on camera. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it feels like we're moving backwards. Sometimes it's confusing. Sometimes it's awkward. But that doesn't make it any less powerful. We're allowed to appreciate our lives in its ordinary state, in its neutrality. Yeah, there are highs and there are moments where you're going to feel electric and you're going to feel inspired, but there are also quiet seasons where nothing feels exciting. And I also think it's a privilege to have those moments, because you know what a privilege it is to live boring, to know that there's no chaos, to know that even though there might not be something that is so exciting and crazy, that there's also not chaos that's making you feel like you're losing your mind. Something is happening when you're living ordinary. It might not be the thing that you want to share on social because it's not romantic and aesthetic and pretty, but it's life. It's the groundwork. It's you being blessed to live another day, to get up, to be able to have and enjoy and to be present in your routine. There's magic in the mundane. There's magic in the process of brushing your teeth and washing your dishes and taking a trip to the grocery store. You can make those moments magical, but they can also be basic. They can also be ordinary. Those moments count. They're not filtered and they're not pretty, but they are the foundation for your life. So I want to say, what if we stop trying to romanticize everything? What if we sometimes just let the ordinary, let the boring be just that? What if we allowed it to just be enough? I think creativity is born in boredom. I think peace happens in that stillness, that space where we don't always need to have it be exciting and fireworks and electric, and sometimes just being present and being real and allowing ourselves to be in that moment is enough, because that is literally life. So my loves, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it resonated with you. And I'm going to go back to enjoying my very boring day because I'm sat at my computer today and I have a lot of work on my plate. I'm excited to get it all done. And I'm excited to, after this, at the end of my day, have a very boring and relaxed day, hanging out, making dinner, and maybe going on a walk. Have a beautiful day, my loves. I will chat with you very soon. Okay, bye.